I don't work for them. I'm just a citizen trying to advocate for it. So just saying. All right. So next we're going to talk about smart cities, and who knew that smart cities need some infrastructure? Dan does. So Dan, let's take it away. And maybe an extra bonus drink ticket if you can figure out what his Twitter handle means. Just a trivia. So anyway, go ahead, Dan.
Do you know what it means? I don't know. All right. My name's Dan Moore. Do you want to start the timer? I mean, I could just keep talking.
You can only get Chad remainder time.
Cool. So my name's Dan Moore. I founded another startup, and this is actually the first talk I'm giving on it. So it's the first public announcement of our startup. Essentially, we're focused on open networks for smart cities. So as you know, and as you just heard Chad talk about, cities have wide, diverse data. It comes from all over the place. It comes from both like figuratively in terms of like the data packet and the format that it is, as well as the city area itself. All these different departments, all these different use cases for it. The Internet of Things has blown up over the past decade. There are thousands of solutions out there, hundreds of different providers. Most of them, though, require some kind of power connection and require cell or Wi-Fi connectivity, which extremely limits their usability. So cellular connections, I know AT&T was just talking and might be a sponsor in here, but they charge upwards of $5 per month per device connectivity. So if you want to install lots of these, you're talking lots of money very quickly just for Internet of Things access. So, and power limits them to where they can be used. So there's a classification of technologies called LPWAN, or low power wide area networks. Basically, they're shooting for these different things here. How do we lower cost? How do we focus on low bit rates? So what else can we get rid of that cellular does? We don't have to worry about streaming video or anything like that, but we want to use a single AA battery for up to 10 years. And that just blew my mind, and I actually had to research, and yes, Energizer does make a AA battery that lasts for 10 years, which is kind of cool. But so we founded this company called WISP City. It's myself and two other co-founders. We're starting with a technology called LoRaWAN. So it's a specific technology in that classification of low power wide area networks called long range wide area network. We're great at naming things. But basically, they came up with a existing unlicensed spectrum in the 915 megahertz range here in the United States. And a bunch of other things that are specific to this problem. How do we drop down power? How do we hit underground scenarios? How do we track sewers? How do we behave in urban environments? And so they came up with this specific specification that's huge overseas, but not here in the United States yet. A couple of people are doing it, not that many, but there is a large alliance behind this instead of just a single company. So there's 500 different companies already bought into this alliance, and so it'll be around for a while. On top of LoRaWAN, so that's essentially the network, we're taking a different approach because there is already one competitor in North Carolina, but we're taking a different approach than them. And essentially we're having cities buy their solutions, make sure that they're authorized providers, that they can use this technology, that they know how to do it. And the idea is to pair with our servers, and then we understand cities and can provide an open API using a stream technology and pass on essentially the access that these providers for these solutions need to their servers, but then pass on the public information to the cities and to the public. And so everyone has access to the read-only side of that, to all of that sensor data, and can build their solutions as they need. So taking this private, very secure solution and extending it is essentially what we're interested in doing. So we are also playing around with what other context can we add. So owning a network and being able to control this network, we can attach things like location and time that might be even harder for these individual sensors to do. I mentioned a stream API, but it's basically a pub-sub model, which for developers, that means real-time data instead of polling or wasting a lot of resources. And then also providing a methodology to develop solutions on this network. So being able to provide a flexible packet format so other people can access it. Here are some things that we're shooting for. Instead of $60 a year, we want to shoot for the $1 a year price point. We're actually working with the city of Wilson, doing our first public deployment, and we're shooting for full coverage of North Carolina in 2 years. So each gateway covers about 30 square miles, and that takes about 2,000 sensors for all of North Carolina, which we think we could do in 2 years. It also can provide a lot better reliability. Here are some of the challenges that we have, and I'd love to hear your feedback afterwards. Thank you.